not so far away from Dharali, what happened is Harshal. At Harshal, there is an army base camp. The Rajputana Rifles have a camp there, and close to that army camp also there was a cloudburst, and those videos also came. But it is this army group here which is the first respondent to Dharali. Further, there is another place just a little away called Suki Top. So in a distance of about 50 square kilometers, there were 4 cloudbursts, and that's what triggered a huge amount of natural calamity as we see. Now Uttarkashi, this region is called Uttarkashi. Uttarkashi is a fair distance away. Rishikesh and Dehradun are about 200 kilometers, 150 kilometers. Dehradun is 218 kilometers from this region. But this is along the Bhagirathi river. So this is Gaumukh, this is Gangotri, and further downhill, this is the origins of the Bhagirathi, which then eventually turns into the Ganga. Now, this flash flood coming in the wake of this cloudburst and the catchment area of this Kheer Ganga river. That's what it's called, Kheer Ganga river, and slowly then it becomes Bhagirathi as more and more tributaries contribute. If you look at the video, the main video that CNN News 18 was able to access first up, you would see before this becomes a huge stream. This is just a narrow bordered stream that actually contributes to the Kheer Ganga. But suddenly, because of this huge amount of rubble and this cloudburst, the volumes are so huge. The spread of this rubble and slush itself is more than about 2 to 3 square kilometers, and it's about 15 to 20 feet, minimum 10 feet and a maximum of about 20 feet of rubble and slush that's now just spread over these houses. So it's just been smashed all together. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the amount of devastation that's happened in this region. The army camp there was one of the first to respond. The cloudburst catastrophe happening at this Harshal region, the Harshal area and nearby Dharali. So Dharali is actually the main village where this has happened. Dharali is a pit stop, is a stop ahead, the last stop ahead of the Gangotri pilgrimage that many people would undertake. But it's the catastrophe striking at the top because of the cloudburst, sudden huge outpouring that happens, and there is a huge amount of water along with the slush that comes out, and the dwellings were all swept away. And what happens is, as it reaches down where there is inhabitants and that gaon and the area along the banks of the river, that's when it forks into two. It forks into two, and from the left and the right and also a bit of the center, it just then takes everything away in its wake before emptying itself into the river itself. Once the water moved away, the rains abated, all that was left was about 15 feet of slush that has covered multiple floors and also damaged multiple houses. So the extent of loss of life cannot be estimated. There could be thousands of people. Many believe a lot of lives may have been saved because there was a mela in a neighboring area about 4 or 5 kilometers away. A lot of people had moved to that side. But the videos do capture vehicles and also people who've been caught in its wake. And those are very, very dramatic visuals before and after the devastation from Dharali. Now, the first cloudburst occurred in Dharali village, located in Uttarkashi near the Kheer Ganga river, a region on the pilgrim route to Gangotri Dham. Initial images showed the extent of damage, with several homes, hotels and homestays swept away by flash floods and landslides. At least 4 to 5 people have died, minimum. That's a minimum count. But many more are feared missing. In fact, in some of the videos, they're quite disturbing that there are people who don't even have seconds. In less than 40 seconds, it's all smashed and gone. And in about 10 seconds, people are running and then they're engulfed into that entire slush that is pouring down the hills and that's coming and taking everything away in its wake. Now, many are running for their lives as they could see and hear the massive flash flood approaching. Those who are making this video from the other side on the hilltop can be heard shouting in these videos, whistling, screaming, screeching, trying to warn people on the other side. But a lot of people did not even realize what is happening. Now, it occurred near the Khirganga River catchment area, leading to this sudden surge of water and a lot of debris. A flash cloudburst also struck the Sukhi Top region shortly after the devastating event in Dharali. The cloudburst triggered flash floods across several high-altitude villages, sweeping away multiple homes. Several houses were completely washed away. So that's another area where there's been devastation. The area is experiencing raging waters and debris flows similar to the earlier mudslide in Dharali. And then there is also this visual of a man trying to actually drag himself out of the slush. Look at that picture. Can't even walk because it's wet slush. It's like quicksand. It pulls you in. You get stuck. Difficult to get out. Lots of mud. And he's just trying to crawl his way out. And there's another person who's running to the other side. There you see him running to try and to pull this guy to safety. But from that dry area to the wet slush, it's about 5-10 feet. Where he's also worried whether can he really go across to help that person who's seen crawling and making his way to those shrubs. They're actually not shrubs, they're tree tops. That's the top ends of trees. So that's why I said about 10-15 feet of slush. The ITBP, NDRF teams have been deployed for rescue operations, and Indian Army's IBEX brigade has also been mobilized so that the troops can come there to assist. Well, it's a sad state of affairs. In fact, it's so difficult to get there. Viewers, we will try and get you live coverage at the earliest and as soon as we can because roads have been blocked. There's been incessant amount of rain and there is also a problem with access. But our teams, the News18 team, is en route. They will try and get there. Two SDRF teams, I must tell you, are confirmed that they have actually been able to get there before the weather got a little more, got worse. Helicopter services or heli rescue has also not been, it was not possible because of bad weather and then it's dark. But they believe that the rescue ops will go on through the night. We'll try and get you the moment we have first visuals. We'll get you an update. We're also trying to speak to some of the local leaders and the MLAs for an update. But right now, communication is tough. Weather is, I think, taken a turn for the worse. That's the update that we are getting right now. We'll try and go back to this and get you more in a bit. For the moment, moving on here on the right stand. Donald Trump, now the larger issue, continues his tariff bullying on Bharat. In a phone conversation with CNBC International, the US president has said that India is the highest tariff nation. We do very little business with India. India's tariffs are so high. India has not been a good trading partner. India does a lot of business with us. We don't do a lot of business with them. We said 25%, but I raised that substantially in the next 24 hours. India is buying Russian oil. They are fueling the war machine. Now, a lot of these claims are unfounded. Perhaps the biggest bee in the bonnet that Donald Trump has with Bharat is the trade deficit of nearly $45 billion, which he wants to try and reverse or perhaps bring a certain level of parity. That's where it is. The rest of the claims largely seem to be unfounded, but Bharat is also exposing the US hypocrisy. The MEA statement very clearly said that it was the US that does actively encourage Bharat to import from Russia when the Russia-Ukraine conflict happened, as traditional supplies were diverted to Europe after the outbreak of the conflict, and it was the US who actively encouraged such imports. So clearly, buying oil from Russia was a solution that the US offered, and it's not just the MEA saying this. The former ambassador to Bharat, Eric Garcetti, also is on record saying this. Now, in its statement, Bharat highlights that the US continues to import uranium hexafluoride from Russia for its nuclear industry, palladium for its EV industry, fertilizers as well as chemicals. So who is the US to try and lecture the world, including Bharat, about what their business is with Russia? Bharat added that Europe-Russia trade includes not just energy, but also fertilizers, mining products, chemicals, iron and steel, and machinery and transport equipment. While stating the facts, Bharat hit hard at the US, saying that they were being targeted and this was unjustified and unreasonable. Bharat also added that like any major economy, Bharat will take all the necessary measures to safeguard its national interests and economic security. Let's go across to our guest, Ambassador Kanwal Sibal, former Foreign Secretary of India, Charu Pragya, national spokesperson of the BJP, Akash Deep Muni, political analyst, and Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, political commentator, and also scientist. My namaste and Jai Hind to everybody. Ambassador Kanwal Sibal, what Donald Trump is saying, is there more to it than meets the eye? How Bharat is reacting? How would you see Bharat's response?
It's very unfortunate what is happening, because India-US relations were developing well. We had overcome, as we've been saying, the hesitations of the past. The United States was defining the relationship with India as the defining relationship of the 21st century. We were participating very actively in the Quad. We were very supportive of the Indo-Pacific concept. Our military exercises, naval exercises with the United States in the format of the Malabar exercises was becoming bigger and bigger and more complex. We were buying defense equipment from the United States from virtually zero at the beginning of the century to almost 24 billion. And more defense contracts are being discussed, whether the Stryker combat vehicle or the Javelin anti-tank missile or additional PI-8 surveillance aircraft, maritime surveillance aircraft. Also, as you know, we have signed many agreements with the American side so that we can become part of the supply chain of defense defense components to the US, to the Pentagon. And on the United States side, they have actually tried to ease export controls and everything else. On the information, critical and emerging technologies, we have begun to cooperate. I don't want to also go into all that the Indian diaspora is doing in America and contributing to the American economy. We have invested $40 billion in the United States, and US has invested $80 billion in India. But proportionally, given the size of the economy, look at the amount that we have invested in the United States. The global capability centers, 60% of them are American. And they are making full use of our human talent and developing so many IPRs. In the services trade, United States has a surplus with India. And then if you tabulate all that India is transferring in terms of finances through education, through IPR rights and everything else, if you total that, actually there would be a surplus of the United States, or in favor of the United States. But Trump is single-minded, narrow-minded, and he's only concentrating on the goods trade part, not on other things. And there again, if United States has a deficit with India and with other countries, it is, I mean, the economists can tell you that it is because of the policy that the United States has pursued. Right. So they've always wanted to import cheap goods from all over the world, and they could keep printing dollars. And they didn't have to worry about being indebted, and now look at their debt levels. But leave that aside for a moment. The point is that he has hit at India very badly, and he has brought into the mix something which is totally extraneous to his bugbear about tariffs, relationship with Russia. Now, this oil relationship with Russia goes back to 2022. Indeed. And as you rightly said, not only Garcetti, but other US spokespersons have actually publicly said that they wanted India to keep buying discounted Russian oil so that Russia could not earn too much money, and at the same time, the global prices of oil remained stable. So it's not as if we were doing anything which was against what the Americans were opposing, against what the Americans were saying. That is one aspect. The other is that our defense ties with Russia have a long history. Right. And we have tried to diversify our defense ties. As I said, we are also now buying from the Americans. Now, if he's so concerned about the Russians killing the Ukrainians, then he should look at himself. Actually, they are the ones who will be providing all these arms and long-range weapons. And what did he say the other day publicly? That he said, I told Putin that if you continue to attack Ukraine, I'll bomb Moscow. He said, I don't know if he believed me, but maybe 10% he believed me. Now he's wielding nuclear threats against Russia. Now, if he's failing, now his own special envoy, Witkov, is in Moscow today to sort out problems with Russia. Now, if he's failing in that regard, why is he trying to shoot at Russia from our shoulders? Why is he making a scapegoat of India? This is absolutely ridiculous. He's wrecking the India-US relationship. Unfortunately, we'll have a cost to pay, but the US will also have a cost to pay. It is extremely short-sighted of this man.
Well, is he being short-sighted, or is he just desperate to try and get something? Because we've not tried to give him any leeway or edge in the India-Pakistan claims, nor have we backed his claims for a Nobel Peace Prize, etc. And we'll through the course of this conversation expose him further about he's armed a terror state. It is nuclearly weaponized a terror state like Pakistan, and the Americans were involved in it. There is data in 1971 war, how many patent tanks and how much, nearly about 2 billion worth of arms and armaments were given by the West and the US to the Pakistanis. And that's what forced Bharat to move towards Russia. So there is a history to all of this, and Trump knows it. If he can know the 1,000-year conflict, he knows this history also. So he can't forget that. And there are a few of his advisors who are quite bigoted in their approach, or if I may say racist in their approach, and that's also been documented. Meanwhile, before I go to our other panelists, India's average weighted tariff is just 4.6%, which is lower than or similar to the European Union, Vietnam and for Indonesia. US exports to Bharat like pharmaceuticals, energy, machinery and chemicals mostly face low tariffs under 10%. Bharat's higher tariffs are mostly in agriculture and automobiles, which are relatively smaller portion of the India-US trade. Now, in electronics and technology, which is prioritized by the US, it faces equal or lower tariffs in Bharat compared to Vietnam, China and Indonesia. In dairy, Bharat is lower than Japan, the EU and South Korea. In chemicals and pharma, lower than China. Developing countries like Bangladesh, Turkey and Argentina have similar or higher tariff levels, showing Bharat's policies are normal for its development stage. Weighted average tariffs are actually lower than for the EU, Vietnam and Indonesia. Bharat has lowered average tariff from 80.9% in 1990 to 15.98% currently, with the real world effective tariff that is weighted down to 4.6%, showing steady trade liberalization. So where is the problem, Dr. Ranganathan? I'll go to the Akashdeep Puni and Charu Pragyaji in a bit. Thank you for your patience. But yes, Dr. Ranganathan.
Good evening, Anand, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I speak here purely as a layman trying to understand the economics and futilely trying to understand the machinations of Trump, where all of us are failing. I think a couple of things that I, again, as a layman, understand about what is happening. We need to separate two things here. Number one, we need to separate the question of tariffs and we need to separate the question of Russia. And on both counts, of course, India needs to show not only the mirror to Trump, but also to resolutely stand strong. Let me deal with the Russia factor once before. Now, the obvious question is the West being hypocritical? Yes, of course they are, and people have exposed this. Everyone has. You've seen ever since the war started in Ukraine, Europe has continued to buy millions of tons of Russian oil, fuel, gas, fertilizers, minerals, Europe and America. In fact, America right now continues to buy as much as 1.1 million tons of Russian oil refined through India, through Jamnagar and other refineries. So there is hypocrisy, there's no doubt about it. But it's one thing dealing with nations or their leaders who are hypocrites. That comes with the territory. I mean, every leader is thinking of his or her own country, and in doing so becomes hypocritical. The point is they have transgressed the boundary. They have become psychopathic, and I choose my words very carefully. You see the soundbite of the erstwhile US ambassador to India doing the rounds. I mean, here is today Trump saying that India is contributing to the killing of innocents in Ukraine by buying Russian oil. America was the one who was forcing us to buy Russian oil because they said we need to post-war stabilize the oil prices.
Yes.
They were encouraging us to buy oil. Now look at the casual nature. If you look at, he's on the screen right now.
Yeah.
Look at how casually, I mean, it is scary. It's almost diabolical. How casually he's explaining that we don't give a toss about morality or ethics of people being killed. What we want is for people to buy Russian oil so that oil prices are stabilized and it helps us. I mean, this is devilish nature. So they have crossed that boundary. You can deal with a hypocrite, but it's impossible to deal with a psychopath. And on top of that, if the psychopath is also a bully, now how do we deal with it? Now, this is textbook stuff. I mean, you deal with bullies and there are, ways to deal with bullies. One way is to completely ignore the bully. That gets the goat of the bully, and Trump is in that territory. The other is to out-bully the bully. And I fear if Trump doesn't rectify his stand, he is going to be out-bullied, because right now, what is going to fall on him sooner or later, like a ton of bricks, no pun intended, but Brazil, Russia, India, China, and I don't know about South Africa. Today, Brazil has already said we must look at it as an alternative to the dollar currency. You know how Russia is, antagonized by the US. India, Trump has already made into an enemy. China, we know what's going on. The important thing to realize is India is not alone in being antagonized by Trump. To draw an analogy, we are like a boat with the tiger in Life of Pi. We can't do anything about it. We can't jump out into the ocean and the tiger remains. Every nation is in the same boat. So let's not feel left out or being singled out by Trump. Every country, and Brazil, you look at Brazil, you look at China, they are being forced even more the hand of Trump than we are. So I think we need to
we are on the cusp
very calmly.
We are on the cusp of this August 7 deadline. So Charu Pragya, is there a plan? This beyond this entire staring down and giving it back subtly, directly, overtly, covertly, etc. Thank you for your patience.
Anand, good evening. Of course there's a plan, and India is not anti-America. We are merely pro-India, and we are welcoming trade. We are open to a proper negotiation that is fair, that is reciprocal, that is respectful, that is not bullying India into a corner, because now we are not just going to align with policies set out by other leaders who have double standards. We are setting our own policies. In fact, the amount of trade India has with Russia today is less than 1/3 with the trade that we have with the United States of America. And all the data has been quoted better than I can quote it by the other two gentlemen on the panel, and a lot of respect to them. But America still continues to buy critical things from Russia. They are buying material to build their EVs. They need things to keep their nuclear reactors running. They even get oil, fertilizers. So all of that, and their trade has increased, in fact. So the US trade with Russia in the last year has increased by over 23%. So what is President Trump talking about? And it comes back to this. See, I'm very mindful of the words I'm using right now. And mindfully, I just want to say this. Being pro-India is what India must do. Being very clear about our priorities, which is our people, our sovereignty, our energy. What's that correct word for energy? 1 second. Oh God, I can't believe I forget it. Basically, we need to have sufficient energy to keep our country running, and we cannot be dependent on other people and their moods to make this happen. And that's exactly what India has done. I, for one, want to say this. I'm very proud of the government of India, the way they have drafted 2 back-to-back statements, both very carefully worded. We are not here to hamper international relations, but we are here to make sure they understand that there are other key players now. In the last couple of years, we've signed 13 FTAs with important countries like UAE, with Australia, with EFTA, with UK most recently. So India has got trading partners. India is becoming a manufacturing hub for the world. We are becoming a pharmacy to the world. We are working on becoming Atmanirbhar. And Trump needs to introspect. The amount of harm you'll cause India, I think you're harming your country, your citizens more. So maybe go back and listen to what the Americans have to say about all moody decisions that you're taking.
Well, there is a fly on the wall which is also telling us that had that hydraulic failure of the F-35 not happened, there could have been a deal. But it took 20 days to even lift it off from Indian soil for the Royal Air Force. It was an F-35. So can we really have a deal? Do we really want those aircraft? So,
Bhagwanji is watching over India. This is exactly it. Bhagwanji is watching over India.
But point is, but Charuji, I'll tell you, I respect faith, and yes, let's hope that the divine powers always bless our country. But we can't be Bhagwan Bharose. We have to be Atmanirbhar.
No, we are not. No, we are not. And
so there is a reality.
I respect why my admiration for Charu, 1 second. Charu, just 1 second. Why my admiration for this government and Modi? has gone up, because in the last 3 years, and I've done the calculation, we have actually saved 2.12 lakh crores by buying Russian oil instead of Saudi oil. So that has saved our inflation from cumulatively going up by 1.47%. Now just imagine the opposition. Now Dr. Muni is from Aam Aadmi Party. I don't know, maybe he switched over to Congress. But the same opposition would have berated us and said, why are we increasing our inflation? Please, for goodness sake, let's buy Russian oil. At least we'll bring down the inflation. Now those guys are quiet. So if Trump
those guys
agrees to give us $26 billion, we will buy.
A lot of those guys are also taking on Trump and saying that you mind your own business and India's interests are paramount. They're also saying that. Akashdeep Muni, your thought process, the government is the government on the right track here, or you have a few holes to punch?
No, of course, the earlier two panelists are very good friends, but they were as clueless about external affairs and economy as the MEA spokesperson was. And let me bring some facts to the table. The MEA spokesperson response showed a clueless foreign policy of Modi government today. No clear counter strategy, no demand for WTO intervention, and no threat of proportionate retaliation. They offer no tangible counterplay like tariff schedules, legal actions, or diplomatic coalition. Nothing. The MEA tried to highlight Western hypocrisy and India's sovereign right to energy trade, but failed to deter Trump's transactional tactics. Has no strategic value if India does not back its words with concrete economic or diplomatic leverage. Like EU, we are talking about EU, European Union, China, Canada, all responded to Trump tariffs with counter tariffs, legal actions at WTO, and collective pressure. Even India did not. Now, don't interrupt. Even India did not use alliances like BRICS, G20, or SCO to build pressure. No economic analysis provided to counter the US narrative that India is funding Russia. This shows India is reacting, not leading, and it's not strategizing but justifying. As a result of this cluelessness, the Indian rupee fell near lifetime lows on tariff fears. We all know the August 5 meltdown. Exporters and industry stakeholders have no clarity on government response. US-India relationship is again strained with no policy roadmap from New Delhi. And when Mr. Modi was hugging Mr. Trump, all credit was given to the Prime Minister. But now when Trump is consistently berating India, isn't the Prime Minister where the buck should stop? Now let me go into the past also. अभी की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, पहले की बात कर लेता हूँ. Despite Modi Trump and Modi Biden summits, a trade deal that was almost ready in 2020 never materialized. India and the US still do not have a full-fledged bilateral trade agreement. In June 2019, the United States removed India from the Generalized System of Preference, the GSP program. You all know this ended any free access to $5.6 billion worth of Indian exports to the US. Unfortunately, India failed to prevent GSP removal. Other allies did. Remember South Korea, Brazil. They all put pressure.
They have all
everything and got things
Akashdeep Muni.
done.
Yeah, largely currently the Aam Aadmi Party has the mandate for the people of Punjab, largely farmers. The biggest condition is GM crops and corn. So allow that into India. Attack. They want the farm sector open, the dairy sector open. Are you okay with that?
If you have gone through the media reports,
the current government,
the Indian government, listen to me, the Indian government, through its back channel talks, was negotiating on this very thing.
No.
Yes, it was.
No. Let me just tell you, sir. This is. I'm not going by media reports or sources. In this, I'm going by what the Prime Minister. 1 minute, sir. I'm going by what the Prime Minister. I am going by what the Prime Minister and the Commerce Minister said on the floor of the House in Parliament, because what they say in Parliament is sacrosanct and is on record. So at both points, they said that the interest of the farmer, the interest of the small manufacturers, that is the Udyamis, will not be compromised. The key point for the US are twofold. One, they want this trade deficit to be negated. $45 billion plus trade deficit. They don't want that. Trump wants to negate that. Two, they want the agri sector to be opened, the dairy sector to be opened. They want to flood Indian market with GM crops and dairy produce, which they want an open trade with very little traffic. Now my point is, when the farm laws came to enable contract farming, when the farm laws came to enable contract farming, the farm laws came for direct engagement with the farmer. The farm laws came to empower the small and the medium farmer. At that time, where the roadblock happened and who created the roadblock and who are the people who created this entire issue, you know it very well. So I am asking you, can you, sir, and can the Aam Aadmi Party commit that not a single farmer will be up at arms from Haryana, Punjab or any of these belts which are going to be most affected?
See, I am talking about not Aam Aadmi Party or Punjab. I am talking about whole of India.
So,
just tell me one thing, sir.
But the entire farm protest was, the country was held to ransom only by the farmers or a few handful of farmers from Punjab and a handful who came from there. They were the ones who held this entire country and all of Ludhiana's hosiery industry to ransom. The entire small and medium industries all through that part, all through that belt were affected because of this lot of farmers from the state of Punjab only, sir. So I am asking you this because across the country we did not see farmers locking up the streets and jamming up the roads. They were wanting contract farming. They wanted this entire aspect that the entire this is streamlined. Land holding is streamlined. Registry of land is streamlined. Contracts are streamlined. Dispute resolution streamlined. Everything. The biggest reforms in 25 years, 30 years in agriculture was stymied and sent into the back burner. Now I am asking you, will you turn around and say that those interests should not be protected? Those sectors like dairy and rest of agriculture, especially staples, should not be protected? It's a simple question. I have limited time. I just also want to go across and okay. Yes, Charupragya. Yes, Charupragya. Yes, Charupragya.
Yes, thank you. Because Akashdeep was factually incorrect when he said that India has not used the rights built into the WTO's safeguard agreement. We have 8.2, which basically says that if tariffs are unfair and are changed to disadvantage a particular country, we can make changes. We can change tariffs ourselves. We can ask for lessening of the tariff. We have, in fact, also proposed to suspend trade.
Why are you lying on national television?
I'm not lying. I'm not lying. Akashdeep, don't do this. Akashdeep, don't do this.
Ma'am, please prove me that you went to WTO. Prove me.
Let me finish. India has proposed to the WTO that we are going to suspend trade concessions worth 725 million annually, which matches the estimated damage from US duties. So please don't call me out on this. I'm very sure what I'm talking about. Also, let me remind you, like Anand was doing, we walked away from RCEP because it would have hurt our farmers, it would have hurt our dairy industry. You have chosen to forget that. I am again reminding you that we stand for Indian autonomy. We stand for making India a fair partner in every trade deal, not the way you want to project it. And I don't know what foreign policy are you talking about. Are you supporting Rahul Gandhi who says Indian economy is dead? No. Akashdeep, don't do this. Anand did not allow me to interrupt you and I will not allow you to speak over me now. No. Please keep quiet, Akashdeep Muni, because I'm very serious about
it. I will request 10 seconds.
What kind of foreign policy are you supporting? That Rahul Gandhi declares Indian economy is dead and you jump around him and say, yes, I support anything that is anti-India. Is that what you're proposing? Because that's exactly what you mean when you say that India has no idea what it is up to.
Anandji, 10 seconds.
J.
Right to rebut.
J.
Okay. Now listen to me. Now you are talking today about agriculture. What happened in 2018, 2019, 2020? What happened then? India lost
we were proposing to make it better.
Now don't interrupt me. Don't
No. You continue to interrupt me. I'm calling you out.
Okay, now we are fighting about the wrong things. I'm just telling you. No. What happened in 18, 19, 20? What happened in 18, 19, 20 was, sir, that the biggest agricultural reforms that were planned for the country did not happen. There were losses that were incurred across the board because of the disruption that was created. What I am trying to say is, sir, as a nation, should we try and bow down to these kind of intimidations? Because on the one hand, they instigate farmers to insist on MSP, and MSP made a law here. And at the WTO, the same groups come out and berate Bharat and do not give Bharat a fair deal or a fair chance because they say that you are imposing, you are giving MSP and you are giving a minimum support guarantee. This double game, are we not aware that is being played dangerously by those who are backed by the Keynes Group, etc.? and those group of companies there, the American and the Western hegemony. We know that very well, sir. Here they want to fuel MSP. Okay, I have to thank our guests. Dr. Ranganathan, please stay on, but the other guests, thank you. I'm just going back to Uttarakhand because we have Suresh Chauhan, the MLA from Gangotri region with us. Suresh ji, namaste. उत्तरकाशी में आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है? मैं आनंद बोल रहा हूँ।
हाँ भाई साहब, प्रणाम। हाँ भाई साहब, आ रही है।
प्रणाम। सुरेश जी बताइए, ये धराली और हर्षिल में क्या हुआ है आज? आपने वहाँ स्थानीय लोगों से बात की? जी।
धराली में भाई साहब, धराली खीर घाट पर जो है, धराली गांव से लगभग 200 मीटर जो है ऊपर जो है पूरा जो है वहाँ। हेलो,
हाँ जी बोलिए।
बादल फटा और इससे आपको पता है कि बहुत बड़ी स्थिति वहाँ की हो गई है। इधर से एक आर्मी की जो टीम वहाँ पर गई थी, लगभग 125 आदमी आर्मी के वहाँ पर गए थे, जो हर्षिल में थे। तत्काल जिलाधिकारी से कांटेक्ट किया गया, डीएम के द्वारा जो है हर्षिल आर्मी से, और आर्मी तत्काल वहाँ पर पहुँच गई थी और लगभग 20-21 जो है जो घायल थे उनको जो है रेस्क्यू कर दिया गया, निकाल दिया गया। लेकिन उसके बाद जो हमारा मंदाकिनी जो नदी है
जी, उस
पे भी बादल फट गया और उससे बादल फटने से पूरे हर्षिल में आर्मी कैंप भी उससे जो वल्लीवार को पड़ता है वो भी मतलब उससे डैमेज हुआ और वहाँ पे भी बड़ा नुकसान हुआ। तो स्थिति ये होगी कि पानी पूरा आ रहा है, आप देख रहे हैं पूरा दलदला है। तो लोगों को अब यह है कि जो लोग गांव में फंसे हुए थे उनको जो हमारी गंगोत्री की तरफ से जो हमारी एनडीआरएफ की टीम थी, आईटीबी की टीम थी, उनके द्वारा उनको सुरक्षित स्थान पर कोपांग के पास ले जाया गया और पूरा रेस्क्यू का काम चल रहा है। पूरा जिला प्रशासन इसके लिए अलर्ट है। मैं भी आपदा कंट्रोल रूम में हूँ। जगह जगह मुझे भी जाना था, लेकिन जगह जगह सड़क ब्लॉक हो गई। अभी ऐसी स्थिति हो गई कि दोनों तरफ से, इधर हर्षिल साइड से और उधर जो है आपका गंगोत्री साइड से, दोनों तरफ से पूरा बंद हो गया रास्ता। न वहाँ गाड़ी जा सकता, ना व्यक्ति जा सकता, इतना दलदला और इतना जो है। तो आर्मी के लोग जो है पूरा रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन वहाँ पर चला रहे हैं और पूरा प्रशासन इसके लिए अलर्ट है। जिलाधिकारी और हमारे जितने भी अन्य टीमें हैं वो जो है घटना स्थल के लिए रवाना। लगातार बारिश हो रही है, जगह जगह स्लाइड हो रहा है, जगह जगह रोड ब्लॉक हैं। तो बहुत ऐसी स्थिति है और इस समय जो लोग अभी बचे हुए हैं उनको बचाने की जो है जरूरत है।
लेकिन एक बात बताइए कि वहाँ कितने, आप कह रहे हैं 20-25 लोगों को बचा लिया गया, अभी जो आर्मी की टुकड़ी वहाँ गई थी उसका क्या है परिस्थिति है वहाँ पर? जो 125 जवान वहाँ गए थे, क्या एसडीआरएफ भी वहाँ पहुँच पाई है गांव के अंदर?
एसडीआरएफ की जो टीम है वो पल्ली पार से, क्योंकि एकदम गाँव एसडीआरएफ की टीम गंगोत्री की तरफ थी।
हाँ जी,
गंगोत्री से ऊपर ही ऊपर पहाड़ी के रास्ते से जो महिलाएं गांव में फंसी हुई थी उनको बाहर निकालकर उनको जो है वहां पर जो नेलांग की तरफ है, गंगोत्री की तरफ, वहां पर उनको ले जाया गया जी। तो लगातार, और माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी लगातार मॉनिटरिंग कर रहे हैं। जिला प्रशासन में अभी आपदा कंट्रोल रूम है, तमाम लोग जो है इसमें जो है लगे हुए हैं और अभी तक जो है लगभग 20-25 मकान और लगभग
जी,
तो बहुत ज्यादा नुकसान हुआ है। और लगातार उसके बाद जैसे मंदाकिनी वाला बादल फटा, उसके बाद सुक्की टॉप वाला बादल फटा, फिर झील बन गई थी
जी। अभी उस इलाके में लगभग कितने लोग फंसे होंगे सुरेश जी?
लगभग 300-400 के लगभग फंसे हुए हैं।
300-400,
लेकिन वो सेफ जोन में है इधर।
अच्छा,
मतलब सेफ जोन में है वो अभी। हाँ, सेफ जोन में ऊपर जो धराली पुराना गांव पड़ता है वहां पे उनको जो है पहुंचा दिया, वो पहुंचे हुए हैं। वो भी जो वहाँ के लोग हैं वो भी उस पर पूरी वो कर रहे हैं। पार मुखवा के गांव के लोग भी लगे हुए हैं। जो हर्षिल के साइड के लोग थे वो मुखवा की तरफ जो है शिफ्टिंग हो गए हैं। तो मैं थोड़ा माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी VC ले रहे हैं जी, उनसे जुड़ रहा हूँ
जी, ठीक है। तो सुरेश जी आप माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी से जुड़िए, हम इसी खबर पे हैं। कोशिश मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, अगर 5-7 मिनट में आपकी बात समाप्त हो जाती है तो प्लीज़ आप वापस हमारे साथ जुड़ जाएं और हमें और भी ज़रा विस्तार से बताएं। तब तक मैं दर्शकों को भी बताना चाहूँगा कि क्या हुआ है वहाँ पर। धन्यवाद। All right, so viewers, that was Suresh Chauhan. Suresh Chauhan ji is the MLA from Gangotri. Now, he has offered some very important information which we should try and break down for our viewers. The BJP MLA has said that at least 20 to 25 people have been rescued by about 125 Jawans who were rushed from the Harshil army base to this place, and they reached there. But what has happened thereafter is a threefold trouble issue. Now, if even as Pushkar Dhami is sitting there in the war room or in the disaster control room with his team to try and assess the situation and see how we can, how they can try and mount the rescue efforts. It's in the evening, the dead of the evening, early morning. Again, rescue efforts will be redoubled. There is a threefold trouble. I'm just going to request our team to just open up that map again so that we can explain to our viewers what has actually happened, and we need to understand this carefully. I'm just going to walk up here, and can we have that map here on the screen, please? And we try and play out what Suresh Chauhan has also said. We try and highlight what he's also said. Let's try and understand this, and let's get close in here. So the first incident happens here. So incident number 1 is here. This is Dharali. Now what Mr. Suresh Chauhan has said is, now Dharali is not so far away from Gangotri. So this side, this is upriver, and this is downriver. This is downriver. So what Suresh Chauhan has just said is, in this Dharali village where these visuals were captured, about 20 to 25 buildings have been totally demolished, but 20 to 25 people have been rescued, and most of these people now been moved up towards a safe zone. The SDRF team, now see, this is the other side of the river, and the river is here. The river is here, and this is the other side, the bank side of the river. So the far side and the near side. So the SDRF team is stuck on the near side of the river, whereas the maximum damage has happened on the far side of the river. So this video has been made from the near side of the river. See, this is the river. So from across the river. So the SDRF team is across the river. The army got up to here from Harshil. So from Harshil, about 125 Jawans of the Rajputana Rifles or the army base there got here and rescued about 20-25 people, and they've moved certain people to safety. But what's happened there is, downriver in Harshil area and Sukhi Top, there have been more cloudbursts. So the army camp here in Harshil has also been damaged. And more debris, more slush has fallen down, and there has been more damage to the higher up villages in the Sukhi Top region and Harshil area. Around that, what's happened is, there has been another cloudburst. The 4th cloudburst has happened in this area in Gangotri, because of which there's been a huge downpour and deluge. There's been a huge downpour and deluge, and water has now suddenly accumulated on this side and also on this side. So it's quite literally become like a lake, and as the water recedes, there is slush, debris on this side. There is slush, debris on this side. So from both sides, here and here, upriver and downriver, there has been huge amount of water, slush, debris. So there are 4 or 5 different points which have jammed this entire area. This is about 30 to 40 kilometers of track and river area and roads, etc. And both on the far side and the near side of the river. So this side and this side, there has been damage that's happened, and largely on the far side, some of the SDRF teams have also not been able to go across. And there is also a lot of, what can I say? There is a lot of rainfall that's happening, inclement weather and roadblocks. So rescue operations are hampered because a lot of the rescue teams which have been mobilized from Rishikesh and Uttarkashi are stuck here. They are not able to go forward because of more landslides and more roadblocks. And there's a lot of debris and damage. What he has also said is that 300 to 400 people are stuck here in Dharali, but they have all been moved uphill on the far side of the river to safety. So they've been moved to safety, but there has been an intense amount of damage in this area, that is Dharali. And it's not just Dharali, even in Harshil, neighboring Harshil, and upriver in this Gangotri area, near Gangotri also, there has been more damage that's happened. Multiple cloudbursts, 4 cloudbursts, 3-4 areas near Gangotri, the Suki Top region, Harshil and Dharali, all of them have now created perhaps a huge amount of debris, rubble, damage in this very big area that spans quite a few kilometers. So it's not going to be easy. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Dhami currently is taking stock in the war room. These are pictures coming in at the main disaster control room in Dehradun, where he's taking stock. He's also doing a VC with the local MLAs and people who are rushing rescue efforts. The locals are chipping in. Suresh Chauhan, he's an MLA from Gangotri area, and he's also mounting rescue efforts, and he's trying to send teams to the areas and the villages and the regions which have been badly affected. But Anshul is with us. Anshul, till where have you been able to get across, and what's the latest update?
So yes, at this point we have been able to reach Haridwar, and in Haridwar as well the situation is in fact precautionary measures have been taken from the side of the administration over here as well. All the ghats near the holy river of Ganga has been cleared up at this point in time. Police personnel have been deployed on the ground. They are also trying to monitor the entire situation, and they are also keeping a very close watch on the water levels. If at all there is any alarm that is raised in Haridwar as well, then precautionary measures would step in. In fact, divers have also been put on standby from the side of the Haridwar administration. As we go up from here, it is being said from locals that there is a continuous downpour that is happening, and in several parts there have been landslide. In fact, what locals are telling us at this point in time is that near Chinali Sort, which is at least 60 to 70 kilometers away from Harshil, at that location as well, there has been the traffic has been stopped over there. So yes, at this point we are trying to reach as close as possible to the spot, but inclement weather conditions are something that is
it still raining there, Anshul? How far have you been able to get across?
So yes, it is being, there is a continuous downpour that is happening at this point in time. In fact, for tomorrow as well, a warning has been issued, and tomorrow as well, it is expected that through the day there will be a heavy downfall across several districts of Uttarakhand, which eventually means that the rescue operations could be delayed even more, as the NDRF teams have still not been able to reach on ground zero, as there is only one option that is left with them, that is to go through the road route, as the helipad that is in Harshil has also been drowned in flood water at this point, is what we are being told.
So the army camp where there is a helipad, that is that the Harshil area, that has also been damaged, and that's also come under the sludge and the deluge. So that is confirmation of what Suresh Chauhan said, that the army camp has also suffered some damage, an intense amount of damage, and that's further hampering rescue operations.
Well, definitely the helipad at the army camp has been damaged. In fact, it is flooded at this point in time, and that is the reason why the rescue helicopters that are now stationed in Chandigarh have still not been able to fly towards ground zero at this point, and this is becoming a massive cause of concern. The local SDRF teams are carrying out this entire rescue operation along with the help of locals as well, because the area in which the area that has been impacted due to this landslide and flooding that has happened is a very vast area. Approximately 20 to 25 kilometers of area has somewhere or the other suffered damages in parts as well. So definitely it is a Herculean task for the administration and the rescuers at this point in time to make sure that each and every person is taken to safety initially, and then eventually
is there power there, Anshul, or have the power lines also been disrupted? Because in most of the places we see the power lines intact. Even when the massive deluge happened in Dharali, some of the power cables and the power towers, main towers stood. They were not brought down. So is there still power supply in that area?
So yes, there is power supply, but as a precautionary measure, since there is a lot of downpour that is happening, and it is expected that through the night the amount of rainfall is going to increase, and hence in some pockets of that entire area, load shedding has been done, power has been turned off, and in a gap of few hours, power is being reinstated. So the administration is trying to make sure that each and every step that could be taken to keep the situation under control and make sure that the power power grids are also kept safe, so that a long rescue operation which can happen over here, that can go on undisrupted. But at this point in time, since there is a heavy downpour that is happening, it is becoming very difficult for the rescuers to carry out this rescue operations at a brisk pace.
What is the update that you have in terms of, will you be allowed to move forward? What is the way forward for you? Are there others also? Is there a lot of traffic jam on the road?
Yes, we are still approaching the location from where from where we are picking up that the roads might be closed. So once we reach that location and speak to the local administration over there, it would be abundantly clear if at all we would be allowed to move anywhere close to ground zero. But till near Uttarkashi is what we are being told, that roads are operative at this point in time. But since rainfall is continuously happening, landslides can happen anywhere at this point in time as well, and hence abundant precaution is something that is being taken from the side of the administration as well, and that is the reason why people are actually being asked to go in groups and make sure that they go at a slow pace as well, and do not rush on these mountains, because these mountains are actually very, very fragile. We have seen in the past as well as how the mountains in Uttarakhand have actually proven to be very, very difficult to actually go out and carry out any sort of rescue operations. This time around as well, since there is heavy rainfall happening, the mountains are very, very fragile, and abundant precaution is something that is being said that should be taken from every person who is traveling towards Uttarakhand at this point.
Stay safe, Anshul, and whenever you get there, get us the details of what's happening on ground. Viewers, the army camp in Harshil has also suffered damage. Suresh Chauhan confirmed that. We pray for the safety of everybody in that region, because upriver from Gangotri, downriver till Harshil and further down, there's been massive damage that's happened. It's not just here, that is in Dharali. 4 cloudbursts, some of the upper reaches also damage has happened, and further down. We have Surendra Pratap with us, joining us live. Surendra, namaste. आप कहाँ पर हैं?
देखिए, मैं अभी उत्तरकाशी में हूँ।
सुनील नमस्ते।
एरिया में ये पूरा डिजास्टर हुआ है।
जी सुनील नमस्ते, आनंद बोल रहा हूँ। जी गो अहेड, आप कहाँ पे हैं? जी
यहाँ पूरे एरिया में करीब 2 से 3 क्लाउड बर्स्ट हुए हैं। जो मेन पोर्शन है धराली का, जहाँ पर ये सबसे बड़ा नुकसान यहाँ पर हुआ है। करीब 25 से 30 जो होटल थे वो पूरी तरह से वॉश आउट हो गए हैं। इसके अलावा स्थानीय लोगों के वहाँ पर घर थे। पूरा एक गांव था, पूरा का पूरा गांव हम ये कह सकते हैं कि एक मलबे में तब्दील हो गया है। यहाँ पर राहत एवं बचाव कार्य युद्ध स्तर पर जारी है। इसी से लगा हुआ हरसिल है, जहाँ पर आर्मी का बेस कैंप था, वहाँ पर भी क्लाउड बर्स्ट की एक घटना हुई है। बड़े पैमाने पर यहाँ पर मलबा और पानी आया, जिसके चलते जो आर्मी बेस कैंप है उसका एक हिस्सा क्षतिग्रस्त हुआ है। इसके साथ साथ गंगा भागीरथी पर करीब 300 मीटर के आसपास एक बड़ी झील बन गई है, जो सबसे बड़ी परेशानी का सबब है। एक डिजास्टर तो वो था जो आकर चला गया, 3 क्लाउड बर्स्ट की घटनाएं हुई, लेकिन अब एक नया डिजास्टर खड़ा हो गया है कि 300 मीटर के दायरे में जो झील बन रही है वो प्रशासन के लिए सबसे बड़ी चुनौती का सबब बना हुआ है। क्योंकि यदि ये झील टूटती है और यदि लंबे समय तक ये झील बनी रहती है तो निचले इलाकों में एक बड़ी तबाही की आशंका जताई जा रही है, जिसके चलते करीब 80 किलोमीटर दूर जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट हेडक्वार्टर यहाँ से पड़ता है, रास्ते भर के जितने भी कस्बे हैं, जितने भी बाजार है, वहाँ पर हाई अलर्ट घोषित कर दिया गया है। नदी किनारे जो आवासीय बस्तियां थी उनको खाली करा दिया गया है, उनको सुरक्षित स्थानों पर भेजा गया है। इसके अलावा धराली, जहाँ पर ये मेन डिजास्टर हुआ है,
आप कह रहे हैं जो झील बनी है वो कहाँ बनी है? गंगोत्री के पास बनी है। लेट्स हैव द मैप एंड सुनील आल्सो इफ यू कैन। गंगोत्री के पास, गंगोत्री से आगे बनी है। आप कह रहे हैं कि 300 मीटर चौड़ी झील बनी है। There is a lake that's been found. Sunil, आप बताइए जी। Sunil is saying that in this area upriver, there has been at least a 300-meter wide lake. That's a lot of water, and this is upriver. And if this bursts, it's flash floods downriver all the way up to Uttarkashi, about 80-85 kilometers of flash floods. That is a huge calamity waiting to happen. Sunil, बताइए।
देखिए, जो हरसिल जो आर्मी का बेस कैंप है, यहाँ से और गंगोत्री धाम की दूरी 18 किलोमीटर बैठती है, और जो धराली जो मेन पोर्शन है जहाँ पर सबसे बड़ा डिजास्टर हुआ है, उससे और हरसिल की बीच की दूरी आप मान के चले करीब 1 किलोमीटर से भी कम की डिस्टेंस है दोनों के बीच। यही कारण हुआ कि धराली में जब सबसे पहले धराली में डिजास्टर हुआ तो सबसे पहले आर्मी के जवान धराली पहुंचे, उन्होंने वहां पर रेस्क्यू कार्य शुरू किया, क्योंकि डिस्ट्रिक्ट हेडक्वार्टर से जो फोर्स वहां पर पहुंचनी थी वो जगह जगह रोड ब्लॉक होने के कारण वहां पर नहीं पहुंच पाई थी। तो धराली और हरसिल के बीच जो 1 किलोमीटर का गैप है, इस डिस्टेंस में करीब 300 मीटर लंबाई में गंगा भागीरथी ब्लॉक हो चुकी है, उस पर एक लंबी झील बन रही है। प्रशासन की पहली चिंता यही है कि यदि ये झील टूटती है तो निचले क्षेत्रों में एक बड़ी तबाही की आशंका गहराई हुई बनी हुई है, जिसके चलते निचले क्षेत्रों में अलर्ट किया गया है, हाई अलर्ट पर रखा गया है, और नदी किनारे जो भी कस्बे हैं, जो भी बस्तियां हैं, उनको सुरक्षित।
जी सुनील, धन्यवाद। I'll come back to you. So it is between Harshil and Dharali, that 1 kilometer radius, square kilometer distance. In that there is a jheel, that is a lake that's been forming. That means it's a huge issue for all the regions downriver if there is a burst or if that slips, because it's not got any support. And that if that water, there's a burst, there will be huge flash floods, and that's the biggest concern for the administration. We'll continue to stay on the story, winding up the right stand on that note.
Co-presented by This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
All right, inside visuals coming in off the parliamentary meeting that we told you is taking place as we speak right now. The Prime Minister likely to get felicitated. The Prime Minister will also be addressing all the gathered MPs. This is a BJP-led NDA parliamentary meeting that you're taking a look at right now. The inside of the meeting, we were bringing you visuals from the outside a few moments ago. On and around the Prime Minister, Amit Shah, JP Nadda, Rajnath Singh, senior ministers of the BJP cabinet present in the front row right now. This meeting on your screens obviously comes after a considerable gap, which is why there is so much focus on it. Listen in.
श्री हर्षवर्धन श्रृंगला जी फॉर्मर फॉरेन सेक्रेटरी हैं और
all right, as we told you a little while earlier, we're likely to see the Prime Minister give an address in a few moments from now. He's expected to speak on a host of current issues. These are all issues that the opposition has been raising the heat over. One obviously is the SIR, and what they say is the EC's alleged partisan conduct favouring the government. The Pahalgam terror attack, Operation Sindoor. Right now, we can see different leaders, MPs gathered there, being felicitated.
Yeah, please look at it. Thank you.
On your screens right now, you're watching as different MPs watch the announcer. This is the inside visuals coming in from the key NDA meeting that, as we told you a little while earlier, is taking place after a considerable gap of time. Now, we're likely to see two things take place in the next few minutes, according to sources. The first is that the Prime Minister is likely to speak, but also that he's likely to get felicitated by the parliamentary party over his government's response to the terror strike.
Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi during this time.
There is also, but this is not likely to be discussed in this meeting, the vice presidential names and nominees.
On 22nd April,
that process is going to be kicking into full gear very soon.
A front and proxy of Lashkar-e-Taiba inflicted a devastation people in cold blood and segregating them based on.
Remember, since the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, the sessional meeting of the party MPs was expanded to include its allies. And that kind of meeting, the first such meeting, was on July 2nd. But no meeting has been held in the last few sessions. The meeting that you're watching on your screens is attended by MPs of the ruling alliance. And usually the Prime Minister will cover a sweep of political and governance issues, at times touch on the government's agenda in the Parliament. What he'll also do typically is offer to the MPs talking points to be raised in public. Now, I just want to go over to our colleague Arun to understand. Arun, what are we watching take place on our screens right now? Obviously, we're looking at the inside of the parliamentary meeting, but we were watching as it looked like different MPs were being felicitated on the stage one by one. What were we watching?
Well, that's right, Zoya. I mean, it's a very important meeting, as we were in fact earlier discussing that this is the first NDA parliamentary parties meeting post the Operation Sindoor, because this is the first monsoon session post that operation. So it's very important. And, of course, we are seeing the Prime Minister Modi has also arrived there. All of the NDA MPs are must to be present in this meeting. And you will see Prime Minister Modi will be giving out a very important message from this platform. We know that the parliamentary party meeting has been a regular feature of the NDA, but this, of course, holds a different significance altogether.
Our colleagues Payal and Aman also join us right now on the phone. Arun, unfortunately, we're not being able to hear you very clearly, so we'll just go over to our colleague Payal right now to understand more. Payal, what were we watching take place right now in the start of the meeting? It looked like different MPs were being called to the stage.
You just heard Kiran Rijiju, the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, read out a long resolution passed by the NDA, congratulating Prime Minister Narendra Modi's excellent leadership for Operation Sindoor. Remember, it's been a very, very, well done operation. We've been able to avenge the revenge as far as the Pahalgam attacks are concerned. That is something which, of course, is being discussed in the meeting. A long resolution was read out by Kiran Rijiju talking about the entire sequence of events that actually led to justice being ensured for the victims of Pahalgam. And also the fact that India stands united in its fight against terror. And every time that Pakistan tries to beat us, India will respond back in equal force. That is something which is passed as well.
Good evening. You're watching Brass Tacks with me, Poonam Burde. US President Donald Trump seems to be on a tariffs warpath with India. 24 hours after threatening India over buying Russian oil, Trump has doubled down. He's now said that he may substantially raise the tariffs on India, which already stand at 25% in the next 24 hours. It will be much beyond that, and that's expected to come into effect on the 7th of August. He has said that India has not been a good trading partner and reiterated that India is buying Russian oil and fueling the war machine. But New Delhi has had enough. In a strongly worded statement, India issued a point-by-point rebuttal, calling out the United States and the European Union for targeting India for importing oil from Russia. India said that it began importing from Russia because traditional supplies were diverted to Europe after the outbreak of the conflict. And in fact, it was the United States who actively encouraged such imports. In its statement, the MEA highlighted how the United States continues to import from Russia. There are several things that they import, including uranium hexafluoride for its nuclear industry,